This sponsored Saturday is brought to you by
Helix.
Go to helixsleep.com/Gibi and get up to $200 off your mattress. Ben and I sleep on a Helix mattress every night, and this bed is also a Helix mattress. Very comfortable.
Very comfy. The dogs love it.
Helix is wonderful because you can go to their website and take their 2-minute quiz. We took it together and we got the Midnight Lux. So basically, Helix knows that everybody sleeps a little bit different. Maybe you like it a little more firm, maybe you like it softer, or you sleep on your side, your back, your stomach. All of that is taken care of during the sleep quiz, and they match you to your perfect mattress.
Helix also has a 100-night sleep trial. If you don't like your mattress in 100 days, they will come and pick it up, no questions asked, and no charge.
Good job, Ben. Helix mattresses ship right to your door, so there's no need for any contact during your delivery, and they are incredibly, incredibly comfortable. We can both attest to that. Thank you so much, Helix, for sponsoring today's video. Please check them out. Go to helixsleep.com/Gibi to get up to $200 off your mattress. Thank you. Hello, everybody.
My sausages don't move as quick as yours.
It's Gibi, and this is my husband, Ben.
Hi, guys.
You've seen him in videos before, but so many people do not know so many things about my channel.
I am a secret.
I like to recap and reintroduce every single time. So, a few talking points before we begin. I thought it would be hilarious to wear my pajamas, but Ben didn't have any pajamas to wear.
I don't have pajamas.
So now it's just
I
me.
sleep in my undies.
It's just me wearing my pajamas now, which makes me look lazy, but it's nighttime. It's actually really late when we're filming this. River is watching Satine.
Satine is sleepy. She's very cute.
That's why we're filming it so late. And we're on our Helix bed, which you just heard that great ad read. And Ben, you got me that ad, didn't you?
I did get you that ad. I love working with Helix.
That's why we're here today. That's why we're here today. Basically on Twitch, we were having a discussion, and somebody asked what Ben's job was, and I know that some people know, but again, I feel like many people do not know what Ben does for a living. And I always think that the business side of YouTube, it really isn't talked about that much, and it's a really interesting topic that I think a lot of people are interested in knowing about.
Yeah, this is true.
So I figured that we would just do like this ASMR Q&A story time. It's like, who is Ben? What does he do? What does it mean to be a YouTube manager, content creator, person, Twitch, everything?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Also, he's growing his hair out. He has a warrior's wolf tail right now.
I do have a warrior's wolf tail now.
Because he has not gotten his haircut since our wedding in
almost
September.
A year ago. Yeah.
Because I asked him to grow it out to his shoulders. He works from home.
It does fit the timing. I quit my corporate job right after the wedding. And then now I just get to hang out on the internet. So
we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
It doesn't matter. You'll find out later.
So a lot of you submitted questions. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to get to specific questions after I just ask you some very general ones so people kind of know the FAQ. So Ben, what would you say your job title is?
Well, right now I run operations for a marketing company. That sounds a lot more specific than it actually is. So I manage YouTube creators, but I also help run kind of the organization side of a company that does a number of brand deals for YouTube creators every month. Mm-hmm. So that happened kind of because I was managing just ASMR creators, and then my company kind of continued to grow and was picking up steam. I ended up merging with another. I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, what I'm saying is that we're starting from the present.
So really starting from the present time.
Ben is working at a company.
Yeah, the company is like me and 2 other people, so it's not like it's a big.
You formed.
I formed a company. I partnered with a friend of mine and we merged our companies.
Who did very similar jobs.
We did the exact same thing. We'll get into that, I'm sure. And I like to focus on the operations and doing the day-to-day transactions of a brand deal. So how I like to think of it is I am the Jim in the Jim and Michael co-manager situation at a company that's 3 people and a couple of like partners. So that's what I'd say. I'm the Jim of the YouTube brand integrations. Jim Halpert. Sorry.
The big picture and day-to-day.
Big picture and day-to-day.
Ben is the day-to-day Jim.
I'm the day-to-day
Halpert.
Jim.
So how many YouTubers do you manage?
Total, there are 60 that we directly work with, and there's probably another 60 that we're affiliates with. So that means we partner with a company or another agency like ourselves that's maybe a bit smaller, and we pitch them to our brand connections that we work with.
So how many do you work with? Like how many are you in charge of?
Mainly I run the ASMR roster, so the ASMR side. So that's 30 ASMR creators.
All right. So now that we're kind of caught up on the present, even I know what you do, and I'm even kind of confused. So it is complicated. So I want to go back. We know what you're doing right now.
Right.
How did you get there? What do you? I'm gonna sit back and relax. What do you remember? You can give people the long story if you'd like. I'll make some timestamps. It'll be a good time.
So you want me to ramble?
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm a good rambler occasionally. So my story started. I was in college. People like to know like what I did as my background. I'm sure that's a couple of questions as well. I studied industrial engineering and economics at Northwestern.
Double major.
I double majored.
Overachiever nerd.
But it's like a pretty natural mix. And so industrial engineering was more about operations and how like supply chains work, and how to be efficient. So I really liked that because when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I really like when things work efficiently. My big thing was like, oh, why doesn't the government just work? I've learned that's a different story. But then I wanted to learn how companies work and how supply chains worked, and how things got from point A to point B. So that's what I went to college for. There I learned that it's not just shipments and like things that need to get from point A to point B, but you also need to effectively run companies and people and data and information. So that was kind of my background. So I really wanted to be, when I was in school with that background, I really wanted to be a chief operations officer, a COO of a company, and that was like my end big dream goal. In working, I figured in corporate America that would take 30 years for me to finally get to that level. And
then retire and die.
Yeah, that's life. I know
it still is.
That's working for you. But so I learned again that it's not just shipments, it's data, it's people. So I really liked a lot of this is like consulting and kind of how to make teams and companies run more effectively, instead of doing like external consulting, which is you work for a consulting firm that hires you to fix things. I really wanted to go to work for a company and kind of stay there for the long term and learn a lot about it and fix things on the inside. So that's what I did. I worked at a company in Chicago. I was kind of on different teams, kind of like figuring out like, okay, how do we limit travel spend? How do we cut down expenses? Like I was like the bad guy of expenses and the police, but I wanted to be efficient with our money to maximize the returns of the company. Kind of moved a couple times in the company, and kind of like that. I liked doing the projects. I liked working a lot with data. I had a lot of background in Excel, and like data management tools. I really like Tableau, like data visualizations. I love being able to see data come to life. I know this is big nerdy stuff that GB is not interested in, but
I like hearing you be passionate about it.
So it's really fun. So I really like doing that. So that was, I guess, my background. While this was happening, again, I'm 2 years older than Gibi, so I was in the working world while she was in school. And she obviously started her channel while she was still in college. So she started her channel. I was already working. And that kind of started to pick up. In that time, I decided that I wanted to kind of accelerate my career path and move from like what I was doing as an analyst into more of a management role and start to work with other people. So I went and wanted to get my MBA.
What's an MBA, Ben?
A Master's in Business Administration. So I found a program that fit me. I was actually going to night school. I was going to school 2 nights a week at University of Chicago to get my MBA.
Yeah, while you were working full time.
While I was working, yeah.
Oh
yeah, there was a time I was doing a lot at once. Yeah.
We were long distance at that time. So
we were long distance at the time when I started. It was a 2.5-year program. And I was taking 2 classes every quarter and never taking a break. So I was always taking 2 classes for 2.5 years because there's 20 classes.
No summer.
No summer. I was taking 2.
No summer.
And it was 3-hour classes twice a week at night. So
Are
that
you
was
like being stressed remembering?
Yeah, I'm being stressed remembering all of that. So I was doing that. And so as all of that happened, I was going back to school to do operations management. So that was, again, kind of to fulfill how do I oversee operations for a company. That was my focus when I started. Then kind of as Gibi started to become Gibi and started to grow, she started to have some branding opportunities. And this is a story that I'm sure she's told, but she wasn't being taken seriously when she was responding to emails. They were like,
with smiley
they
faces.
were like taking advantage of. I still send smileys in emails. I think it's a nice touch.
Good. Okay. I feel so mean. But period.
No. Yeah. No. It's okay.
Exclamation points.
We'll get into that. That's a good question to talk about because it's communication as a
this
brand manager.
A series. This can't fit in one video.
Yeah. No. It's gonna be long. But so Gibi was dealing with that. And I really liked. I took a negotiations class in business school, and I loved it. I am competitive, so I do like negotiating on that aspect. But I did like the focus of negotiations isn't necessarily in winning and losing. It's about how to find added value, so that both sides win. It's a win-win-win for 2 parties.
Added value. What's a good example of that?
Figuring out something that isn't necessarily a big cost for you, but is a big add for the brand that they'll pay you more for. So it's like add-ons. So things like Instagram swipe up stories, which are fun, and you might do them anyway, but you brand them.
I don't mind doing them at all.
Exactly, but you'll charge a little bit for them that raises your price.
I see what you're saying by small cost to me, like effort in terms of like it's already there, so why not use it?
Right.
I like that.
So that's something that I really like to do is figure out ways to find this common ground. So again, I really like negotiations. Gibi had a lot of inbound offers.
And I would just ignore my emails and ignore my emails.
And I can't do that. I cannot let things...
I would never want to call anyone.
No.
And I would just kind of accept what they offered and call it a day.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that, kids.
We're going to need a lot of advice after your story time, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so...
I'll timestamp. But you should listen to his story. It's really nice.
So... kind of at that point, that's when Gibi was like, oh, I'm going to start signing your name to be more serious. And I was like, okay, like, sure, fine. But then I was also like, wait, that sounds kind of fun. You want any help on that? And she's like, yeah, sure. She was very, very quick to give it to me. I should have known that meant there was going to be a lot of work. But she was like, please take this.
Like, I just wanted to film. I just wanted to make the ASMR content, and then I would like sit down and look at my emails, and I'm like, oh. And I remember calling you, and like you were getting out of your negotiations class, and you're like, I love this, and I'm like, why do you not actually do this for me? Like, I'm still doing this. Like, this is a phone. Why do you not actually do this for me? And you were like, okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first call? The first brand you talked to?
It was probably Crunchyroll.
Really?
Crunchyroll was one of the first ones, or like NordVPN. It's through the same company, the same marketing agency that does those. So, hi Wasif, if you're talking, if you're there, if you're watching. It was talking to.
I made you an email.
Yeah, that's where we made the marketing at GB official email address. And I got access. Yeah, you made a website. Oh, yeah, Squarespace website.
I have a website.
We were trying to pitch Squarespace. That did not get through. Wasif, that's kind of on you as well. But
No, my website was fine. It's just not very utilized.
I know.
No YouTubers
We get some emails. We get inbound emails through there.
That's
So
right.
other
You
nice
forward
emails.
them to me.
Forward them to you.
Yeah. That is, yeah.
They do get to Gibi. Don't worry.
They
You
do.
can respond, but you can send them directly as well. But yeah, so that was the first time I really started to get actively involved in GB schedule. I'm someone that likes my inboxes to be I kind of use my inboxes, and I say my inboxes because I have like 6 email addresses now that I use. I like them all to be at 1 or 2.
I'm the same now.
Max.
Now I'm the same.
Yeah, because I've taught you well, but
And
it's like I use them as my to-dos. It's like those are the things that I need to get to, or I need to respond. I keep them on red.
You keep them
of course. Yeah. But so I started responding. I started kind of building some relationships with agencies and brands, and just started to kind of build a schedule for you of like, are you interested in this? Let's start looking at rates. And all this was brand new to me. Like I didn't know how to price you.
What do you remember? Like
I remember spending a lot of time on the internet.
I actually remember being really grumpy at you sometimes.
Why?
Because you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah. No, I used to have to get all my emails screened by GB. I would have to type them up. That's not my voice.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was very like business, and I was like, I don't know if that's like, because I remember
I would write corporate emails. I was writing corporate emails all day.
I would definitely micromanage him in the beginning for sure, and I remember
story of my life.
Okay, I remember being like, I remember the time when I'm like, all right, you've outgrown me. You are much better at this than I ever will be. Fly, baby bird, fly. Like literally.
Yeah. So I got the brand voice down pat.
But it didn't just like happen.
Right.
Like he just started slowly like taking some emails and sponsorships and trying to help manage me. Like while I was filming, and we just wanted to get like an actual schedule going, and just like the longer it's been going on, and you've been doing my content for like 3 years now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The longer it's gone on, like obviously you can only learn more and like make more connections, which means that you can like fall back and go back to like brands that you trust. Like that's why you guys see like I do the same brand like many times, because like I have a relationship with them and I like them. Like I'm not like flying from brand to brand to brand. Which is cool.
We like that. We've like there are a lot of like you sign recurring deals, and it's something that
I've never had recurring deals before you. Yeah, so we kind of set about your schedule, and we were looking at what you could do, and I think there was kind of a big point was that like Gibi didn't want to be oversaturated with brands on her channel. I think like some YouTube channels will do them whenever they get them or whenever it is, and Gibi was very set on like it was still new in the ASMR space, definitely. For sure.
And so it was like, I'm gonna do one on Saturday. I'm gonna set my schedule to have 3 uploads, and then it's like a third of my videos are sponsored, and that's it. That's the max. Like maybe something sneaks in once every couple months for like a unique opportunity, or sometimes honestly it's like she's helping me with a relationship that I have with a brand that like something needs to happen and they have budget or something. And then
there's a lot of insider info that I think that we're glossing over that people might not know, and I think there is a lot of interesting things, and I kind of just want to like get through your story and how you got to the end.
Oh, you want to just push through my story?
No, like perfect. I don't want to get distracted, but I want to talk about like that a month, the end of the month like matters to a brand.
Yeah, like, that's my biggest. This is my busiest time. Like
it's at the end of the month. Like brands have budget per month. So like that's why like you see a lot of ads at the end of the month, because creators are like, oh shoot, my deadline's coming up, like I gotta get my ad out. I do schedule posts, so like I know that I have 4, and I do them on Saturdays because it just, again, I didn't want to flood everybody with like random ads. Like I didn't want it to surprise anyone, so # sponsored Saturday. And then it's like, if you hate ads, like at least you know it's on Saturday, and you know.
Yeah, but I think there are a lot of different ways to do it. I think it's like the best part about my favorite thing about working with ASMR artists and brands is that like we're very upfront about the ads. ASMR, like the ads are going to become pre-roll. They're going to be in ASMR. They're not going to be shocking. There's no, like a lot of times, sometimes ads will pop in. They're like, do this, do this, do this. And it's like, that's not what ASMR is. ASMR is like, it's a conversation about like a product that the creator has tried, etc. Like they've vetted. We know them, like they're coming through something. Like normally I will try or test something before it's like getting like passed on before pitching it. Yeah, exactly. And it's more known than it is in a lot of other places where it's a little bit more jumpy to cut into it. So it's more of an aside than anything part of the story. But I do say that like brands are very positive about working with ASMR artists because of how transparent the creators are with how with their messaging and the process. So
I think things like the FTC guidelines actually really helped YouTube as a whole. Before I started making content, like you didn't have to disclose if something was an ad, so everybody made it really sneaky because that's what they thought would work. And obviously, like, people aren't dumb. Yeah. Like, I watch YouTube. Like, I know, like, if something's sponsored and you're not telling me, like, that's so shady. So I really love, like, I guess the climate now where it's like, hello, this is sponsored by X. Let me tell you about them. Let me give you my personal thoughts, and let's start the video. Right. It's like, oh, thank God. You know, because people aren't stupid. Right. So it's like, just be honest.
No, and I think it's such a difference. Again, this is going a little bit of a side, but in terms of like traditional marketing versus YouTube marketing and influencer or creator marketing, I think the fact that it's someone talking directly and experiencing the product instead of being a mass, like creators are speaking to their own audiences, and brands select creators because of their audience. We see metrics, we know who your audience is, and like if it's a good fit, we know what your demographics are. We know that it's a good fit for the brand. Maybe it's not everyone, like everyone of course does not equal the total demographic, but overall this is a product that those people should be interested in. So that's why the messaging makes sense. Then when you're watching something on TV and you get a commercial for something that you're like, why in the world is this on right now? It's because they're just buying ad space and they're just trying to like spend a marketing budget, and they're like throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks, and there's no way of them knowing what the return is. They just are like, it was on TV, like maybe we made more money, maybe we didn't. With creator marketing, there's a lot more of a feedback loop of like, hey, this actually worked, like people were interested in this, we would like to continue this because of that, or it didn't, and here's why, and we're gonna spend this money somewhere else. And I think that is just again my mindset. It's a more efficient way for the company to spend marketing dollars, for the people that are watching things to find things that they like. Like I know there are more products things that are relevant to them. Yeah. And I think for the creators to find something that they can talk about that actually isn't going to be like, why the hell are you advertising this? So it is efficient. Yeah.
So what happened next? Who was your second client?
My second client. We're still on only one client. Yeah. So what happened is we had Sponsored Saturday, and I am a little overachiever, and I filled up all of our Sponsored Saturday spots.
And he was like, do you want more ads? And I was like, please leave.
She's like, no, go away. And I was like, fair, but does anyone else want them? And
so that's where the word of mouth comes in. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot, like, that's just the world, you know what I mean? Where it's like, obviously, being on YouTube, like, I ended up talking to a lot of creators. I got very close to people. And so is that what happened? Because I actually was, like, a little foggy about this. Is that you had extra sponsors, and so I reached out to people?
Yeah.
On, like, your behalf?
Yes.
Kind of.
I don't necessarily know. I think
used to be a lot more part of the process than I was.
She did.
I used to help a lot more.
So there were a couple of things. Yeah, it was like I'm almost positive it was Glow that was the second person that I worked with.
That's my thought too.
It was Glow.
But and this
Hi, Sharon.
This still rings true as of yesterday. Is that it's a little bit funny to, and this has happened like 10 times. I don't know why I'm like still shy about it. Is I wait until one of like my content creator friends is like complaining about their sponsorships, and I'm like Ben could help you if you ever want help. Like like you can talk to Ben and they're like, oh my God, can he really? Like, I would love that. Like, oh, I just assumed he was so busy. And I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
I always try not to step on toes. And
I don't want to, and I also never want it to be a thing. Like, there are a couple creators I've reached out to because I think there are specific brand fits, but I never want to be like inundating someone. Like, I don't want to message because like, it's like, oh, hey, like, I got you. It's like, no, I don't. Like, I'm sure you're doing your own thing. Like, you know,
but
if you want help, I can help you. But
I think that glow, my memory is that glow, and this happened with many other creators that you ended up working with. They just DM'd me and they were like, hey Gibi, like, how'd you get that sponsorship? Hey Gibi, can you give me some advice? Because like I
don't know how to price myself. I don't know.
Yeah, they're like, because that's what you do, is you ask your peers for advice and for help, you know? It's like, hey, like, this company messaged me. I see that you did a video with them. Like, how much did they pay you? Like, just so you can make sure that you're not getting scammed or
it's
like.
Good. And I think the transparency is really hard.
Always talk to
because
people.
Brands,
I wish
like,
that we were
brands will reach out more. Yeah, there's kind of a benefit of knowing, because otherwise you're going to be below your value, because it's in the brands. I don't like to think of the brands as like they want to do what's best for themselves. Which is, again, their marketing. So they want to use their dollars as efficiently as possible. So if there's someone that's interested in just working for product because they really like the product, that's great for them. Like, that's a huge win. They send them the product. It's at cost. So think of like the resale price and then what they actually takes to make it. So that it's really cheap for them if someone will work for just product.
So by what you're saying, I'm sorry if I'm dumbing it down too much, but like say like if you're a small creator and somebody contacts you and they say, hey, like, we'd love to do like a sponsored video, we'll send you our product and you make the video.
Right. It's not great. So it
depends.
It depends on, one, how much you like the product, and two,
if it's a mattress and you need a new mattress and you love their mattresses, hell yeah.
Yeah, like, sure, there are different values of products, but still, I think it's something that's like, they're looking to, it's an easy way for them to kind of get in the door and not necessarily pay for the audience.
Low risk.
It's low risk for them because product falls off the shelf sometimes and they make no money off it. So if they send it to you, it's like, it's definitely more valuable than any of those things. It's like probably the most valuable thing they can do with product is get in the hands of people with an audience that will promote it.
That's why PR packages exist.
And it's not to say that they're bad. I think that they're a good way for brands to grow. And I think they're definitely a part of most sponsorship packages. But
is it the way? Nay. Is there an actual business like side to YouTube? Yes, there is.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And so like, I think some people like don't know the answer to that. And the answer is like, yes, there is. Like, there is a lot going on like behind the scenes that you can get involved in if you're interested, and you know, you have options other than taking some sponges for free. Because I guess this should be like a whole different video, but it's like knowing your worth as a creator is like a whole piece of the puzzle, and like you need to look out for you for sure. And then like in Ben's case, Ben looks out for me. Like, so that's where like a manager would like come in. It's like he does a better job looking out for me than I do looking out for me.
Oh, because you know comparisons and you can kind of price correctly. Yeah,
but I'm saying like, you know how to like look in, and like you can just like think smarter than I can, because you're like more focused on
right. And I'm more focused on the brand side.
Yeah, the creativity of the business side, where I'm focused on the creativity of the video side.
Correct.
Yeah. So you got your second client.
I got my second client. It did kind of grow from there.
Again, it was a lot of like word of mouth, because it's like he was still learning a lot, so it was just like people that I knew really well, because we're just like, you know, it's just like friends helping friends. Like, it doesn't, again, there's like little risk. It's like, hey, I don't want to handle these sponsorships, and you're like, oh, I know Ben, like, do you want to try handling my sponsorships for me? And he's like, sure. And then you ended up doing really, really well.
Yeah, I just think it kind of continued to grow. I think it's something that, like, as a marketing or creator manager, I don't necessarily think I'm a manager because I don't manage the content. I manage more of just a brand relation. So
Yeah, what do you call that? Is it an agent?
it's
Like, what's the difference between
like
agent, manager?
Like manager is more directly focused on your career and your talent. I think there are aspects where it's like fun to help out there, but it's not
Business, marketing, like marketing manager for real.
right.
But
It's
like
a marketing manager.
handling sponsorships and fielding opportunities and emails and things. Like basically where money or contracts are involved. Yeah,
Yeah,
the business side.
the business pen.
Business bed. So you ended up setting up your own company.
Yes, so I did. So I was still working at the time. I was still in school.
He was in school.
And I was working on
full-time,
Z's. I was
building an
hand
app
drawing Z's and trying to figure out how to develop it.
and getting all of the sponsorships.
And getting the sponsorships. So it was my life. It was a lot of work all the time, all the way across the sky.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
It was a lot. I wasn't putting in necessarily as much time as I could have at my corporate job because there's a lot of stuff going on. And there were definitely a lot of times where I would run into a conference room at work and be like taking a call as like GP's manager or someone's manager and like talking through new brand opportunities. And or like talking through like drawing out like feedback for the Z's pages. So
Like
there's definitely a lot of
work.
while I'm at work.
Yeah,
It was like
his 9 to 5. It was funny.
yeah. So and then I was doing that before I was going to school at night, and then there I was sending emails. So it was a lot going on at once. But kind of at that time, the number of creators that I was working with continued to grow. Because as you work with more people, it kind of gets more brand connections. I think brand connections are really kind of one of the most important parts of being a creator manager and being able to regularly and sustainably get your creators opportunities. Otherwise, you just say you work with them. If you're not getting them opportunities, then you're not really working. So I kind of continuing to grow the brand side. And then with that, I would continue to bring on more creators. So all that was happening, and I kind of started to shift my schooling from operations management to entrepreneurship, negotiations, business development.
Because you realized you liked it.
I realized I liked it. I was having a really fun time. I was happy taking phone calls, and talking directly with someone about opportunities rather than when I was taking work calls. And it was project management and things that I think it was more immediate, the work that I was doing, more immediate response of the work you're doing on a brand deal side than when you're doing long-term strategy for a business. So I liked that part, but I didn't have any of the immediate side. So I like to focus on the immediate gratification of doing brand deals. So kind of continue to grow that side, and then switch my schooling as I thought that this maybe could be something. And so where are we at now? Am I missing big steps?
So you decided to quit your job, and it was a lot of stress.
It was a lot of stress.
To decide what to do, because we were at a very transitional period, trying to figure out what was going on in terms of your life.
Right.
So we ultimately, after a lot of decided that it was time to quit the corporate job.
Yeah,
which was really
it took months of like I thought I could quit earlier, and there were things were going on at work, and I was like I could have. Then things happened at my corporate job where I was like, I could stay here. I need to help out. Like maybe things are going, like I needed to fill in. We had people out of office for a while, and I was like, I was helping, but then I realized I wasn't really helping that much because everything was growing. It was just becoming too saturated. My time was becoming too saturated.
There was a lot of stuff going on. I think this is a question that I kind of get asked a lot, and it gets romanticized, and I kind of I don't want to like crush anyone's dreams, but I will say that both Ben and I, in both of our situations, me starting a YouTube channel and Ben becoming a YouTube manager, is that we waited for our job that we do now, me as a YouTube creator and him as a manager. We waited for that to be more financially lucrative than what we were doing at the time before we quit.
Yeah.
We did not like, we did not take a lot of risks. Instead, we doubled up on work, if that makes sense. So it was like a lot of stressful time. So like I was working like three part-time jobs. I was a full-time student, and I was running my YouTube channel. And then as my YouTube channel grew, I dropped things until I was only doing my YouTube channel because it made sense. So Ben did the same thing. Like he had a full-time job, he was part-time at school, he was doing managing, and we were starting to draft out Z's. And then as it made sense, he dropped things.
Yeah. And it's hard to know like whether it was sustainable or whether this was like when I was doing marketing work, you don't know if like things are just going to go away. Like it's not, it's
inherently
like
our jobs are risky. Right. It's like you have to make a educated guess at some point, and like, and again, like didn't burn bridges. You like waited it out and waited for the appropriate time to quit your job and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I graduated, you know.
Right. I finished school like
when it was time for me to re-up like my part-time jobs. I was like, oh no, I'm actually like leaving. Like nothing was dramatic. Right. It was just us overworking. Yeah. Which like wasn't fun, and it was very stressful.
I mean, we still overworked.
I don't like to glorify overworking either. Like I think that a lot of people think, oh my God, like you have your life together, and I'm like, there's a lot of overworking involved to that I wouldn't necessarily condone as like the correct thing. Agreed. We're both just freaks.
we are freaks. We're competitive is the problem.
Man, I'm feeling that a lot less these days.
I'm glad.
Like I'm just enjoying.
No, well,
you know.
Well, okay. Well, that gets to when I quit my corporate American job, and then we're almost near the end of the story where we are now. So at that point, I kind of really was focusing on the Z's launch, and then
When did we move to LA? How long after?
January.
When did you quit your corporate
Thanksgiving.
job? That feels like a million years in between.
I know. It was not.
Okay, so he quit his job in November. Mm-hmm. We moved out of Chicago to LA.
A month later, yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Oh yeah, because we had our wedding and honeymoon in there too, and oh yeah, we were.
That's why I wanted to use that to like, we got married and we had a honeymoon.
We were also planning a wedding.
Yeah. But that was like a break for me from work, and then I wasn't working my corporate job at the honeymoon, but I was definitely still sneaking in some work on the.
We definitely worked on our honeymoon. We definitely worked on our honeymoon.
Yeah.
We also watched the entirety of Hunter x Hunter.
It was so good. No, not the entirety. We watched the
end. Like a beautiful beach day, and like
cried.
Our curtains are drawn, and we're crying over the end of Hunter x Hunter.
Best day of the honeymoon.
Anyway,
so I quit. I think this is around the time when I got connected with Matt.
Okay, so long story short, if you know who Moist, Critical, Penguins, Charlie, whatever you want to call him, got a million names. The Moist man.
The Moist talent himself.
Basically, he sent me a nice DM, invited me on his podcast. I had a great time. I had already listened to the podcast, like had been listening to it, so I was like, this is awesome. They were super nice. We ended up like just sometimes you just like mesh with other creators. We were like kind of talking about Twitch a little bit too, and then I have no idea how you met Matt.
I met Matt through they had a sponsorship it was Brooklyn and something that never came through. It was for sheets. They needed a woman. And
they were like, we don't know any women.
I was like, the ASMR side has a lot of females.
So what happened is Charlie asked his manager, Matt,
who ran HMG, which is a company that I now work with.
Human Media Group.
Yep.
So here's where it's like, you're going to have to remember names and things. But basically, Matt to Charlie is what Ben is to me. They're just not married. But they're BFFs.
They might be married.
They're a little bit married.
I just heard that Matt said like his stepmom. That's what he said. That's the relationship official.
But basically, it's somebody that he personally knows in real life. Charlie like runs his content. So basically, I think Charlie must have told his manager to reach out to my manager. His manager's probably like, "Do you know any girls?" And Charlie's like, "One." Gibi. I think I was the only girl on the official podcast.
Wow. We had like 200 episodes. You know that, right? Okay. Well, so after that, Matt reached out to me. We got talking about this opportunity. We were actually going down to Florida for Christmas, and so we met up with them in person and hung out. Matt and I got along pretty well. I would say pretty well.
They call like 4 times a day now.
Okay, well, we got a lot of work to do.
Okay.
And it turns out that we both had a lot of the same brand connections that we'd been building up over the last couple of years, of like who our contacts were at different companies to do brand deals. So at that point, it made a lot of sense to like, instead of having 2 people doing it, we could have one person focus on different tasks and one person focus on the Michael Jim swap. So I'm the Jim, of course. And Matt is the Michael, focusing on some larger things. And so that's how now I do operations for an agency that works with.
So you joined your companies.
Yeah, we merged companies.
Ben is a company.
Matt
was a company.
Matt has a company. It's with Charlie, and it's with a couple of other people. And there's actually a couple of other partners. The Ireland boys are a partner. Their personal lawyer is a partner in our company. And so their YouTube channel that's coming out or has launched, depending on the date of the release of this video, and their first video is one of the partners in our company. So we have kind of a group of 6 guys that are kind of have different areas of expertise and different connections. We're kind of all working together to kind of share opportunities for our brands, and linking people together. And that's really what we do now.
You get sponsorships for people other than ASM artists.
But the majority of the work that I do,
you have like, because you understand the ASMR space.
Exactly.
And it honestly, like, nobody did. No one did. That's why I did, and I think a lot of other ASMR creators, which I'm sure ASMR people are watching this, we all did our own brand deals because it didn't make sense to really join like one of those marketing things, because they just didn't really understand ASMR, and like it was just easier to do it yourself, but it was just annoying. So, but now Ben knows everything about ASMR.
Yeah, so now kind of the general setup is that I still like manage these roster of creators, these people that, I mean, I love talking to. Like, if you're watching, there are no annoying creators. People that send me messages saying like, how do you deal with annoying creators? Like, no, they're all the best. And I really like, and I spend all my day talking to these people, and I love it. It is the best job I've ever had. But so I now like can get introduced to new brands through people that wouldn't be able to understand ASMR or wouldn't want to work with ASMR creators
through Matt,
through Matt, or through other companies, other connections with the company, and I can kind of talk to them about what ASMR is.
He's our spokesperson.
I'm a spokesperson for everyone to talk through.
ASMR is good.
Yeah, it's good. It's like understand who these people are.
It's nice to have somebody on the business team who can represent us.
Right.
It's a good. I mean, I'm biased, but you're a very good representation.
Thank you. Is it because my hair's growing out, or is it because I'm a nice person?
You're a very nice, smart person.
Gotcha, with nice hair.
So that's up to present.
That's up to present day.
Basically, he started working with me on the side. We worked too much, and now we're here. Feeling a little bit better.
You're still filming very late at night.
We're still filming very late at night, but this is a really nice video, I think. It's very fun to be sitting next to you. I love working with Ben. We work from home, and it's like a dream. So that's definitely not like something that I would not complain about.
GB's one of my toughest clients.
The first one that I wanna ask is like, why do you think that sponsorships play an important role on YouTube? Like, why do you think that they should take sponsorships, and why is this space important?
No, that is a good question. Like, why are sponsorships important on creators' channels? Like, creators have such a deal of, there's a lot of unknown when you put something into YouTube. There's a lot of like, I don't know if people are gonna like this. There's kind of a lot of stresses that go into that process, and the creative process. Something that like I do not have the wherewithal to deal with, and to put stuff out there and to put myself out there. And so when I do brand deals, I like to there are two different ways to do brand deals. One is to like base it on performance of the video, or the other one is to base it on the historical performance of the channels and to set rates based on that. I do the latter. And so I kind of give the creators the comfort that they're going to get paid out for the performance that they do, without needing to worry about how the specific views of a video do, and allow them to kind of also get this added revenue source that can allow them to maybe try things that they don't know if it will work. Like there's a lot of times where creators can feel like these 2 or 3 things are what gets me views. This is all I can do. This is all I can focus on. And when you have a little bit of income stability every month from some sponsorships, you can maybe, I'm going to put out an extra video and see if my fans like this. And if they do, you can really try some different things. And I think it's really fun. It shows like a lot of the content you do, you get to try a lot of different things.
I've never told him that, but that is so true.
Oh yeah.
Is that I do things that I think are fun, like Zuko or something that just came out. You know, I'm like, would I spend like...
No, that's a personal love interest.
Exactly, right? Though. Like okay, well, literally. But like I wanted to do that. And like I feel like you're right, like income stable enough to, if I want to do YouTube full time and not worry about that sort of thing, like not worrying about the views is like very interesting.
Right.
It's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
You get to be more creative, weirdly enough.
And I think that's helpful. Like that's what lets brands and that's what lets channels set their own identity. Is by like showing their own creative side and getting that flexibility rather than doing the same thing every time. And that comes through the kind of the comfort of
my stuff is demonetized or copyrighted. It's fine. It's fine.
It's like, well,
it's fine.
Just do it on a sponsored video, and you're like, okay.
What kind of things have you learned and/or been surprised by from working in the online creator space?
I've been surprised by how people value their own channels. I think like what people will work for and think is like, oh, this is fine for me to get paid, and just not knowing, because it's such a behind the curtain industry that you really like nowhere does it show. Like when you think of like sports leagues, every player's salary is like, you can look it up, you can see a table of like this person's getting this salary, this. You don't know that when you're working online, and so I think that because of that, people just play a guessing game. Sometimes they'll overvalue themselves and never get deals. Sometimes they'll undervalue and get nothing for something that's much more valuable. So I think there's still, and this is like almost like another topic, but there's still a taboo about like creators deserving to be paid, like based on in the eyes of YouTube viewers, because they're viewing what they think is free content. Right.
And it's an interesting topic, and I think that people are doing a lot. Like, the climate is changing where people are very supportive. You know, like what I love when like I'm watching a video and it's sponsored and the comments are like, get that bag. I'm like, oh my God, that's so like supportive. It's very so awesome. Nice. Because like it's real work. It's just like creating anything else. So how is it having Gibi as a client?
She's all right. So sometimes the thing with Gibi is that she is either really ahead of the game, which sometimes can throw brands off, because she's like, where are next month's talking points? I'm like, girl, you're gonna have to wait till next month. And the other time she's like, can you please get this approved tomorrow? I'm sending it to you right now. And I'm like, Gibi, have you even filmed that yet? And she's like, no. So it's kind of hit or miss.
Okay.
You're pretty solid though.
I like to be solid. Do you ever feel overwhelmed not having an organization to back you up? See, it's interesting because people don't know that you do. I
definitely think I felt a little overwhelmed when it was just myself. I think there's a lot of stress of like every month you look at like, how many deals am I doing? Like, what does next month look like? And it's kind of like a monthly thing. Again, we kind of get into like, brands have monthly budgets, and they'll find new opportunities, and things change really rapidly. So it was more stressful on my own. Now that there's kind of more stuff behind me, I feel more confident in the infrastructure, and I built a lot more relationships that I definitely don't feel as wishy-washy.
What steps should someone take to get started with managing content creation? Like if somebody wanted your job, what steps would you tell them to take?
I think the most valuable part of managing content creation is being a strong people person, and being able to talk to people and talk to brands and understand both of their perspectives. I'm thankful sometimes that I have a business background because I understand what marketing folks are thinking when they're like, this isn't working, this is not a good fit, we have budget constraints, we have whatever, because I was sitting in there at a company like trying to crunch numbers and hit monthly or quarterly estimates for shareholders and all these other things. So I think it's a real understanding of like the mechanics of YouTubers need to feel solid about what they're valued at.
You'll stand up
and
for
that
us
companies,
for sure. Yeah.
I of course will, but I also will understand when something doesn't work out, and will be honest about like, this is why it doesn't, because the company, it's not sufficient. So in terms of what should you need to know, I think it's that, and what can you build up? It's build up relationships with people in a similar space, at whatever level, at other companies or at people that are working in the influencer marketing space, to start to build a network of people that you can tap when you have someone that you're directly managing, that you can get them opportunities.
Can you pinpoint an aha moment where you realized this should be my job?
I can. I actually can.
Oh.
It was, I don't have the specifics of what it was. I know the aha moment though. It was when it was Matty Tingles. He texted me that he was able to, I think it was buy his mother something really nice because of the sponsorship money that he made. As like a bonus, he was able to get something for her, and he like texted me and was like, hey man, like just letting you know, like I was just able to do this, and my heart was like, it grew 1,000 sizes that day, that I was like able to help someone do something that they weren't able to do otherwise, because I was able to get them some brand opportunities. So it like made my work that I figured was valuable for the creator even more valuable when you're like what they're able to do with it, and how it's able to change their life. So thanks, Maddie, for sending me that text. I appreciated it.
What are the pros and cons of working with/for your significant other? You are together and work together for maybe long periods of time. How does that affect your relationship?
It's a really good question on what it's like working with you, and I want to hear your answer as well.
Okay.
But it definitely was something at the beginning where it was tough. I think boundaries were really blurred in terms of like, when are you, especially as a manager, like when are you critiquing my personality and when are you critiquing me as a manager?
Oh, yeah.
Because I was learning, and so I like didn't know much about the space, and I was coming in with like a bunch of confidence and not much expertise, and I was like, that was not great. I'm not great when I started, and I've learned a lot, but definitely it was like, why are you critiquing my humanity? And she was like, no, I just like that email. So that was part of it. I think now it's one of the best things that we have. It's the fact that we're always together. And I think part of why I did this in the first place was YouTube and content creation, everything was kind of consuming your life, and I was doing other things. And so
we felt very, very
disconnected.
Separate. I had a life and he had a life.
Mm-hmm.
It was like literally a discussion. I'm like, I have a life and you have a life. Like we said that.
Yeah.
You know, and so now our life is one.
Yeah.
So actually it improved our relationship to work together for sure.
Right.
We are together all the time, and I literally never get sick of you.
Yeah. Agreed.
We do have our own offices.
Mm-hmm.
So like I feel like I'm working, he's working, we're both working a lot, and so like we try to support each other, like in that time where it's like I need to get something done, he'll try to help me out. He needs to get something done, I'll try to help him out.
And I think something that's good is that we're not, or like I'm not a manager for what she does, so I'm not scheduling like her shoots and her content and all those other things. It's just on the brand side. Mm-hmm. So it's something where I can like we can do our own things, and I'm
definitely
there, and I know what's going on.
I rarely know what he's doing. He rarely knows what I'm doing, if that makes sense.
We're
not on top of each other like right. all the time. But yeah, I would say it definitely affects our relationship positively. I do think that we have, not surprisingly, fallen into the trap of sometimes we're unable to disconnect from the work, and we're like, oops, all we talk about is work. Like, we should like make an effort, and I think we've gotten better at that. And it comes in waves where it's like we actively try to like just do something for fun rather than, you know, again, just talk about work.
Right.
Yeah. I'd like to know how he optimizes his daily schedule. Does he rely on a strict timetable or just uses time slots in a more flexible way, adapting as he goes?
That's a good question. I think that, so the first thing I do when I wake up every day is go through all my inbox. And I do this in bed, like when I'm sitting, like before I take the dog out, I wake up and I go through all of my emails and make sure there's nothing pressing. Because with this job, there's like, I'm kind of always on call, not in a serious way, but especially like there could be things that happen. A code is wrong, someone's done something incorrectly, like something needs to be fixed, and when I'm sleeping I can't address that. Otherwise, I think like Gibi knows that I've kind of become the one that's always on my phone, because I'm always texting a creator or talking to a brand, or like there's something going on, and it's my life now is way more on my phone or my computer than always. So I wake up, kind of make sure there's nothing pressing, get clear out anything in my inbox that I don't need to respond to. Then I can like go about my morning, sit down. The rest of my day is normally, again, clearing out longer term emails and responses that I need to think out, and calls with brand partners, building new connections, networking with different agencies and new creators and brands now.
But it sounds like you're more of the using your time slots in a flexible way.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because you're not doing the same thing every day. There's always something a little different. And because we do have to be flexible to get it all done, you know, we're not at 9 to 5 and that's it. And then I go home, where it's like we're always just kind of working. And we definitely have gotten better at like, if it's super late at night, we're probably not working. Sure, we're still checking our phones again if there's anything pressing, or if like I need to do something. I mean, like if something's due tomorrow, I have to get it done. Like I'm never gonna just check out.
Right.
But we do have like a in bed by 11, wake up by 8:30. Like boom, boom, boom. we're very boring adult in that way, where it's like we're pretty like disciplined. But your time slots themselves are like flexible, because we just get done what we need to get done.
Calls are always like, I'll respond to an email and I'll be like, I can schedule you next week, or you can call me in 45 minutes and I'll call you then, because I know I'm free. Otherwise, I don't know. I literally don't know. Like,
yeah. It is hard to schedule calls. When are you free? Like always, but never. Yeah.
I always will schedule a call for like next week.
How do you organize your stuff? Do you calendar? Do you to-do list?
I calendar. So I fill out, I have like my Google Calendar is like set with any time slots that I have. And if I need to remember to do something, I will block off an hour of my calendar. It was something that my first boss at my corporate job did. It was on Fridays. We would have 2 1-hour-long meetings. And it was like reviewing weekly something and like some other like corporate bureaucracy terms. And they were recurring meetings. And it was like something at Friday at 2 and some other time, and it was like that was the time where I could like, no one's going to schedule anything, I'm going to focus on this. So that's how I kind of use my calendar. It's like I'm not free these times because I need to do this.
Is there a sponsor you wanted to work with but got turned down by the company? There totally was. I remember like a few, like I just can't remember who they were.
Which one? What are you thinking of?
Sometimes brands are like more than happy to like send you, again, free product, or like comment on your posts like when you have their product in, but they won't commit to like a real contracted deal. And something we didn't talk about was that like sponsorships and like brand deals, a lot of them when you're a smaller channel, they're like more under the table. But almost everything that I do now, and I think that Ben works with, has like a contract that like you sign, and there are
set deliverables.
There are expectations that you know that you are agreeing to and can see. So there's like set rules that are in the contract that you know you're gonna do. So it's like much more like there's no guessing what is required of you. But most of the time, like I'll send in my sponsorship clip, they will approve it. They don't approve it for reasons like, oh, you said 15% instead of 30%, stuff like that I get wrong, or things like that. But yeah.
And so a lot of my day is routing emails too, between creators and brands, and like
making sure things
is this
get done on
approved? Is this
time.
good? And making sure like the end of the month, it's like everyone gets their stuff.
I never ever talk to brands or people other than Ben, which is great. He filters everything and tells me like what needs to get done. Once I have a sponsorship, I email it to Ben because I don't know who it's going to.
Mm-hmm.
Ben does, you know. The end. Okay. Ben, are you single? I'm asking for a friend. What's the most frustrating or time-consuming aspect of the job, and how could it be better or improved?
So I think the most frustrating aspect of the job is the approval process of videos getting routed back and forth. So there is a lot of time where I will get a video and I send it to the client, and I'm like, do you have feedback? Like, we have to wait contractually. You have to wait for it to get approved for them to be able to post it and make it live. And that's why like sometimes you'll see people like, I'm sorry, I'm like, I can't post yet, like the video isn't approved from the sponsor, and it gets pushed back. And I'm like, I have to be on the phone with them. I remember I was like biking in the middle of Chicago. I was like going to something, and I'm on the phone with someone. I'm like, can we get this approved, please? Like, I'm trying to like live my life on Saturday at like at 6 o'clock. I'm like
creators
what's going on? Creators are like, they need to stick to their schedules, and it's sometimes it's like they require like a 24 to 48 hour review window depending on the company, but that can be hard to meet sometimes when it's a short-term deal, and it's just like I'm just waiting for them to respond instead of me being able to say like, here are the requirements from the brand, here's the video. If I could sit there and look at it and be like, can you fix this and this, and then it's good, it would be much faster. I kind of have to play broker to a lot of different parties, and sometimes like the brand has a marketing agency that is working with me, that is working with a creator. So I get the video from a creator, I send to the marketing agency. The marketing agency is in China, they're asleep and can't be reached, and it's like they'll respond tomorrow, and it's like, oh, well,
you sound frustrated.
I am frustrated. It's the end of the month, so I've been dealing with this a lot.
Is it lucrative?
That's a good question. Is the job lucrative? It really is something that takes a lot of it takes a lot of people that you're working with to be lucrative. I like to pride myself and my company. We really focus on, again, putting the creators forward, and being super transparent on like what the rate is, what our commission is, and what they're getting. And we try and minimize our commission on all deals that we take. So again, like we're getting a small piece of a deal that a creator is doing. So we need a lot of brand deals for it to be lucrative. And that's kind of why like I ended up merging with another company. It's because it's a way for us to get more opportunities, to get more volume, because that's the only way it's lucrative. It's not like if I was just helping you, I don't think it would necessarily be at that same level. It just, as you are able to help more and more people, and kind of, again, find more brand connections, that's where it can be lucrative, but we're still not the level of any of like the large MCN agencies or any of that, where it's actually like a huge business. We're just, again, making a living as like, we're partners.
We're making money, you're making money.
Right.
It's like very cut and dry.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really like you said, there's nothing behind the curtain.
Right. Yeah, there's no like, we don't take any money on Adsense. We don't touch any of like.
Oh yeah, that's a good question, because I always forget that like. That's
a lot of agencies take AdSense revenue, and then they're like make money off content
AdSense,
that they're not sponsored.
Just in case, AdSense is the money that you get when people watch your YouTube videos. Like if you have ads on your videos, like in the beginning, middle, end, you'll get like a couple cents, and like it all adds up, and that's your AdSense. So like that's how people get paid. It's very all over the place. There is no agreement with YouTube or anything like that. But it's like you get views and you have your ads on, you get money. And so a lot of times people will ask, like, oh, like I want to work with Ben, but like, does he like take part of your AdSense? No. How does Ben manage sponsorships? Just kidding. That's the first part of the question. Does he contact the companies? Do the companies mainly contact him, or is it a mix of both?
So in terms of how I find brand connections, it's definitely kind of a two-way street. There's a lot of inbound emails that come in
Offers
through Gibi, through other creators that list me as their marketing contact on YouTube. So a lot of times these brands will find a channel or a niche of channels that they're interested in and be like, okay, we'll just send outreach to. So there definitely are times where if I'm listed on multiple channels, I will get the same email like 5 times or 6 times in a row. And I'm like, hello, I'm the guy that just responded to your other email. Thank you for reaching out again. Please see my previous note. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
it's a mix of both.
So it's a mix of both, but I also like have agency contacts that will pick up new brands and connections with people in the marketing space. They're like, oh, I used to work at this company. Would you like to be introduced to one of my friends?
So it's another interesting thing to note. So you're saying agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Ben doesn't always work he doesn't talk directly to a brand. A lot of the times the brands will hire agencies that will reach out to YouTubers. And then when a YouTuber like myself has a manager, they're forced to work through Ben because I don't want to do it, because I don't know their whatever. So Ben will talk to agencies who represent brands. So it's actually like there's a decent
brands.
amount of like people behind the scenes that like to get to just one sponsorship read.
Oh yeah, and when those videos go out to approval, they get sent to like 6 people.
Sometimes they're super casual. Sometimes like it's a lot of people touching it and like looking at it and approving it. And those are
depends on the brand. Depends on the job.
The one-off videos. Yeah. Okay. A channel asked, how do we define our value while making deals with brands? So it's actually kind of complicated because it all like I want to like I'm like, oh, you could define your value like this, and then I'm like, well, it depends what the brand is, what they're asking you for,
right?
What your average views are is probably like the most basic boiled down
metric
thing, right? Is like, but then like they could be looking for a demographic that's more rare. So it's like on YouTube, it's actually way more rare to have a female majority demographic. This is a fun fact. Yeah. If you have a majority female demographic, hold on to it because brands are looking for you because just the base of all the people that watch YouTube, the majority of people who consume YouTube are male. So if you're one of the rare people who more women watch your channel, you have a benefit because
you can do a lot of different brand deals.
You can do
they don't have a lot of places to
brand deals that are having trouble finding the right, like, okay, well, we've marketed to a lot of men, we're looking to market towards women. So it's stuff like that where it's like maybe you get less views, but hey, you have 90% women viewership. So it's a lot of tiny things. And again, I think that's where negotiation came in, where I felt very overwhelmed, where I totally relate to that, where it's like I did not know and still don't know how to define my value. And as each brand like comes across the table, it's like a little bit different too. It's like, what can I offer? What can they offer me? Et cetera, et cetera. But I guess I would say, you would say views would be like views. The most cut and dry. It's like define your value by views. So like your CPM, your rate. It's like, hey, I get average 10,000 views and I need like $10 per 1,000 views. So like that could be like your starting base point to start thinking about what you could
what kind of their return metrics are. And again, sometimes like if you're at your average, sometimes it's all over the place. So maybe it's more beneficial for you to do like a CPM deal where you're getting paid based on the actual performance of the video, because maybe you know that sometimes you get these big outliers and you have a big video coming, and sometimes like you can bet on yourself and do that. Whereas a lot of times with established channels, you base it on the average because it's more solid.
How many years have you been studying for this job?
How long have we been dating?
What kind of qualifications do you need to become a content creator manager?
Wow, in terms of qualifications, it really is a knowledge of the space. Like there's no set qualifications.
Definitely not like there's nothing.
I didn't need to go to business school. Like I learned a lot there.
Right. Yeah. Like nobody's looking at
No one's looking at resumes when we're talking. So there is definitely flexibility there, but it's getting the connections, which I think are the most important part. Being able to build that network.
Connections. It's like, damn. How many hours a day do you work per week with having this job? How many hours a day do you work?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I avoid that question like the plague because I don't want to know.
Yeah, it's really like it's all the time.
It's constant because you're, like you said, in a very non-emergency way, you're always on call.
Right.
Or like I'm always, for my half, it's like thinking about videos is working. You know what I mean? So like I need to like not be doing other things like while I'm thinking, and like writing a script could take me a month because it's just like a lot of it doesn't, who knows how long I'm working, because
I definitely like know my phone has gone off since we've been sitting here, and I'm like,
oh yeah. What's the biggest downside? Did we answer that?
I don't think so. I think it's just like the lack of clarity of like what your salary is every month. It's like depends.
Ooh. Did you happen to take any classes in university that turned out to help with the job, or did you learn everything simply by doing it? That's from Fast.
Hi, Fast. How are you? I took negotiations and advanced negotiations in business school, which I think were important. Again, really more so to be like, how do we create value than I'm gonna hammer you and I'm gonna claim as much value, because with the YouTube negotiations, I think the biggest thing that you want to do is you want to create recurring deals. Like you want sponsors to keep coming back so that you don't have to find new opportunities. You want to find the right rate and the right deliverables that the brand and the creator are happy. So that's my job. So I think those two classes were probably the most important. Other than that, I think like now that I'm kind of doing operations for the business, a lot of the courses that I did on that in university were helpful.
Is there anything in particular that you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
I'd say I wish I knew how to talk to people correctly when I started. I think, again, I was really formal because I was used to sending. I had a boss that I loved at work. She was very meticulous in forming how things were framed and organized, and I really took that into my personal job. And I think that it made me seem a little stuck up and pretentious to people that I was trying to talk with, or maybe ask for sponsorships or ask to work with me. So I think I might have burned a couple bridges, or not burned a couple bridges, but just missed a couple connections that I could have made if I was more personable and more of myself rather than my business mindset.
You're just fine.
Thank you.
But it's nice that you can be yourself more now.
Yeah.
I can see that it's, you know what I mean? I can see it. Okay, is there a reason why a brand may sponsor everyone and their mother, but then randomly stop sponsoring a bunch of people?
Yes. So there are a bunch of reasons why they would sponsor a bunch of people and then stop sponsoring some or all. It comes down to two things. One is performance, and two is saturation. So performance is that those tracking links that are in descriptions of YouTube videos are used in a way, like they're set up in a way that they help the brand actually know if people are interested. Does that audience respond to the messaging, or is it not a good fit? Maybe they thought that this channel was male dominated and the video ended up being female dominated, something that just the messaging didn't fit. And two, you could see brands really come into a new area of YouTube. Like ASMR is definitely a lot of people watch other YouTube videos, but a lot of people are focused on ASMR. So this might be the only place they see ads. But if they see the same ad on a ton of different channels, one, they might randomly pick who they actually click on the link for, or eventually they're like, well, if they were interested in buying it, they've already bought it. Why would they continue spending there? So they'll see performance drop off over time. So that might be why you see kind of brands come in a big way and they're everywhere, and then they'll drop off or only pick a couple to stick with.
What is one thing that users of YouTube don't know about the platform/uploads but should know?
The /uploads?
I don't know, like the video? You know what I mean? Like, is there anything that the YouTube viewers should know that they don't know?
I think it's just like how much that, like, when you think of like your data is being used by YouTube to sell ads, like maybe it is on an individual level, but on a channel level, like when just looking at like what the total demographics are, like they don't know who exactly is watching. They just know the averages. They just
Like
kind of
age,
use that as a,
gender, whatever.
yeah, it's age, gender, and location. That's
And
really,
you said
that's,
that.
hmm?
Like they said that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we use to go off of to see if it's a good fit or not.
Do like brands, like, I feel like they go off of like, if they look, like, do brands like frequently or infrequently look into the person's content? You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Yeah, they'll peak.
I like when I get an email and I can tell that the person knows my content.
Yeah, but that, I think that is rare. It's like, especially like, I think it's rare that someone does.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of like the smaller companies where maybe they'll work as a marketing executive or like be kind of on the marketing team at a company, and they're like, I happen to be a big fan. I think you're a good fit for this company.
Oh, yeah,
And then they'll reach out rather than like an
Yeah.
agency. They're just reaching out to as many channels as they possibly can.
Are sponsors only working with big YouTubers? What's more important, the amount of subscribers or the engagement the subscribers have with the YouTuber?
It's definitely more important to see the engagement with the user. Average views on a video are more important than subscribers. And then ultimately performance of a video is the most important factor. So it can be hard to, once you get kind of in the door with a brand, it's all how you do on selling it. And there are people, when you look at the roster, like their rates don't directly correlate to their views because they either convert more or less than other people, and you just have to kind of know what that is. Like two people with the same number of average views could be priced differently depending on how they do, even though we generally base it off that.
Do you have any good tips for like people like avoiding scams? Like, you know how you can get like some sponsorship emails and you don't know, should you take it? Is it legit?
Yeah.
They don't know how much to charge, things like that.
Yeah, I would, when you're looking at email traffic coming in, I would look at who the source is. I would take the end of the email, like the company, and look that website up if you think it's a little bit sketchy. If there are links in the email, I normally wouldn't click them until I've validated the company and seen that the links also show up on the company's website. If the offer is for something that is outside of the realm of what you think you're worth, it throws a red flag up. Even if it's a super high offer, I'd be like, how are you doing this? Because you need to know that they need to match their performance metrics. So either they're being irresponsible with their money or it's a scam. And people that promise you that your subscribers are this means you're going to get this many views. This means you're going to get this many dollars and you're going to get this from our CPM model. Normally they're taking the best possible outcome and jacking that up even higher, and your reality is going to be much lower. And
I would say be patient. Look at the emails. If it seems like a scam, if it's not something that you feel right doing, I would say just be patient, and like eventually like you will get emails from brands that you recognize and actually use. Oh my god, you know what I mean? Like it definitely is interesting. I've done a few smaller sponsorships like way back in the day that I definitely can say that I regret. Like a lot of emails that I get that seem more scammy are like the, hey beautiful, we love your YouTube channel. Like, we are trying to promote this head massager on Amazon, and it's just like, oh yeah, sweetie, just delete them. Delete them. It's not worth your time. And there are a couple scams actually that have gone around where it's like you pay for the product because they're like, you'll sell so much more if they're ever asking you to pay a dime. That's a scam. What else have I seen? Because like you weren't around when like it was like early days of like you learn. My other advice would be, especially for smaller channels, you might get more offers for like affiliate links, which means it's very low risk to the company. Essentially, they make you more of like a ambassador. So if you sell products, you get a cut. And so obviously it's very low risk because if somebody buys their product, they win, you know, and if they don't, well, they didn't have to pay you anything to promote that. And I would say, like, I think that affiliate programs can be very useful if you are going to be promoting the product anyway, especially. There's Amazon affiliate links that are really great that you can set yourself up with if people are interested in what gear you use. It's like, hey, I use this camera, and if you're gonna buy it, just use it as an affiliate link because at least I get a little commission on that. Things like that, like you can set up affiliates pretty smartly, but I would say definitely do it. Try to focus on affiliate links from products that you already use and we're going to promote anyway. I'd say that's probably your best bet because they're like the easiest to sell and promote without being like, what am I even promoting right now? It's like, I use sleep phones. I always talk about them, so I'm like, hey, sleep phones, can you set me up with an affiliate link because I'm out here promoting your product. So at least I should like want like a link to send people to. That's my advice for getting started in sponsorships. So how can a small YouTuber get companies who sponsor them? Do they approach the creator or does the creator approach them?
Generally, I think you would need to wait for the companies to reach out to you unless you want to do something on an affiliate or free product level. Just because they're just the way they're focusing their budgets, they're going to highlight the higher dollar, higher return people. And so as hard as it is, it can be hard to send an email into an influencer at whatever giant company inbox and not get responses over and over again. It's just because of how their team works. They might have an agency that they're linked in with that they'll never tell you because they just don't respond. So I think unless you're willing to work on an affiliate or a for product deal, generally wait for some intake emails or again, personal connections into the companies.
And you can make your email available on your channel so it's easy for companies to find you. You probably will get like some spam because if you put your email there, but you can do it. And I think that's probably the easiest way for brands to find you. You can also put it in the description box of your videos, but you'll probably get a lot of spam. With all the recent changes in the last few years on how YouTube monetizes videos and regulates content, how has your job changed or evolved? Like, has it changed or evolved at all?
I think my job has changed a little bit with the changes in monetization. I think there are some people that are more willing to take sponsorships now because of how flexible is the nice way of putting how
that was
unknown
really nice.
It can be.
Unstable.
Monetization on YouTube. I think that's the biggest thing. I think the sponsorships can be stable income. They're binding agreements.
Yeah, YouTube creators really should have a union.
Right.
I really should have an agreement with YouTube because it's gotten to this point where it's not just people posting cat videos, 5-second cat videos anymore. I think YouTube has to stop kidding themselves basically, but they don't have to.
Right.
So they won't. Mm-hmm. So sponsorships are just it's like normal work. It feels so much more like normal, you know. Does Ben need an apprentice? Because if so, all I got is time.
I don't even know. It's hard. It's hard because so much of my job is personal relationships. I've always thought about who can I bring in and have them help out? But it's it's all these people that I know so well that maybe it's me being a control freak that can't give that up. But it's so personal. Even though it's all the personal stuff I'm doing is business, it's also personal in a weird way.
Has the pandemic and global lockdowns affected the business?
So it affected the business a little bit. There were a couple brands that pulled out completely of doing sponsorships. They shifted their marketing budgets into later months because they couldn't be doing ad spend. So you notice some companies that weren't spending. But to the same end, there are a lot of companies that, like D2C companies, which are the direct-to-consumer companies, which are the companies that do a lot of YouTube ad sales. honestly are growing a lot because people aren't going to department stores, aren't going to the hardware store to buy stuff. They want it shipped to their door. And so that's why it actually, like, the last couple of months have been some of my company's biggest months, in part because we're growing, but in part because there's actually more ad spend coming online as traditional companies start to see YouTube as a viable alternative to television ads, as there's less people watching live television. They're all watching their phones.
There are so many more questions, but we're already at an hour and a half, so I feel like we could do a sequel. If you guys are interested, we can definitely answer more questions.
2 videos?
Or if it, probably not. It's like more of like a podcast, you know?
Gotcha.
Because it's just us talking about questions. So I feel like this might actually be fine as one long video. And I'll try to timestamp the questions if, you know, you really, it's hard to scrub through and get answers to some things. But the last question was, how do you decompress?
Oh, geez. How do I decompress?
Go to bed.
Yeah, I go to bed. I'll have I'm normally working. Yeah, a little bit of a glass of wine, and I don't know. I really don't turn off until I'm like in bed. I'll read like soccer news or sports news. I play with the dog.
Cook.
I do cook, but normally it's like
really
I'm still working after dinner. I just have to cook because someone's got to feed this family.
It's like we don't have decompress time. It's like here and there, like as you need it. Because when you're like, oh my god, I'm really, really overwhelmed right now. Like sometimes you just gotta take a break, and it just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
How do you decompress?
So I don't, but it's late, and I still have to go respond to work stuff.
You gotta go take care of business. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you.
Again, I know there's so much more that we didn't cover, and I know we kind of ramble on. But if there's anything else that like sparked a question, let us know in the comments. We can make a sequel if that's easier for you.
People can also like DM me and reach out. Like I'm like pretty available to questions and comments and things. If you're interested in working or need help, or just like there's some people I don't necessarily work for. I just answer questions when you have it. So feel free to use me as a resource. Again, I like this job because I get to help out people. And again, like my favorite part is kind of making sure people are well valued for what they're doing. So feel free to.
I'll post his Twitter. What else? Like whatever you want to be posted in the description, I'll put that down there. Thanks, B.
Good night,
now
guys.
I gotta go film some